Hello and welcome to LSJ Today. Here are today's headlines.
The Police and Crime Commissioner for Lincolnshire is to introduce Spithoods.
A charity that helps potential sex offenders could close because of a lack of funding.
I shouldn't have done it, and as soon as I did I felt guilty. I think that if I'd found Stop So I wouldn't have committed the offence, and I think I would have been better off and I would have understood more.
And as cup fever grips the city, can Lincoln outgun the Gunners? All that and more on today's programme.
Welcome to LSJ Today, coming live to you from the University of Lincoln. I'm Becky Lancashire.
And I'm Amy Dobson. A Lincoln student is in training to run 10 kilometres to raise money for her friend who's been diagnosed with Huntington's disease.
Ellis Curtin decided to get tested for the gene after both her grandmother and her father were diagnosed. I went along earlier to find out more.
A university student, an avid athlete, and now the latest member of her family to be diagnosed with Huntington's disease. The disease is an inherited neurological disorder that causes progressive mental deterioration, resulting in death of brain cells. The earliest symptoms are often subtle problems with mood or mental abilities. Then as the disease advances, jerky body movements start and the person becomes unable to talk or swallow food. Each child of a parent with Huntington's has a 50% chance of inheriting the faulty gene. It doesn't skip a generation, so if a child tests positive, they will at some stage develop the disease. After her father was diagnosed, Ellis decided to get tested.
They always say that it's probably one of the worst forms of a disease, as you never know when it's going to hit you, but when it does, it attacks you quite aggressively, and within 20 years of it starting, then really you're going to die. Until they can give me a cure, there's nothing really I can do apart from fundraise and raise as much awareness as possible, so I take quite a positive attitude towards it.
After hearing the news of her diagnosis, Ellis's housemate has now decided to train for the Lincoln 10K to raise money for the main charity, the Huntington's Disease Association.
It's all well and good buying chocolates and a card and different things like that, but actually what does that really do? And I just thought, what more can I do to take away a bit of the pain and a bit of the perhaps disappointment and the sadness of having that diagnosis? So I thought, if anything's going to actually be of any benefit, it'd be to raise money for the charity in some way. So I thought the Lincoln 10K would be a challenge for myself, but still going for a good cause to raise some money for the charity.
Both girls will run alongside each other at the event on April 2nd, in the hope of raising money for a cause now close to both of their hearts. Becky Lancashire, LSJ Today, Lincoln.
A Lincolnshire child abuser believes that he wouldn't have committed the offence if he'd spoken to a charity which prevents sexual offending through therapy.
Stop So provides therapy to paedophiles who have not yet committed an offence. However, the charity is set to close. Aaron Renfrey has this report.
It takes a few seconds to change your life or ruin it, and I have to look back at what I did for the rest of my life. If I'd used the charity, I wouldn't have committed the offence.
Those are the words of Jacob, a Lincolnshire man who will spend 10 years on the sex offenders register and 2 years seeing a probation officer after sexually touching a young boy.
I shouldn't have done it, and as soon as I did I felt guilty. I think that if I'd found Stop So I wouldn't have committed the offence, and I think I would have been better off and I would have understood more. If people went and got support and there was more support around, I reckon there would be less offences.
Stop So looks to reduce the number of sexual offenders in the UK by providing therapy to those at risk of committing a sexual offence. They have 3 therapists set up in Lincolnshire, and in 2016, 4 people from Lincolnshire who were at the risk of committing a sexual offence came to the charity for help.
Prevention has to be better than cure. People are approaching Stop So asking for help. We all want to keep society safe. And at Stop So, we do this by providing therapy that will change behaviour and reduce the number of sexual crimes.
Sophie Lavender was abused as a child and set up I Found Hope, a campaign which aims to save victims at the first sign of danger.
The closure of a service like Stop So would have a real detrimental effect on the local community. And what Stop So does, like I Found Hope, is that it nips abuse in the bud before it happens, and that is crucial, that is very important. And you know, if my abuser was able to get to a service like Stop So, then maybe I wouldn't have had to go through what I went through.
With only 26 days left, and only 8% of their £80,000 target reached, will Stop So be able to continue offering therapy for much longer? Aaron Renfrey, LSJ Today.
Lincoln City's FA Cup dream continues after they beat Premier League side Burnley in the 5th round at the weekend.
After progressing to the quarter-final, the reward is a trip to the Emirates Stadium in London, where they face Arsenal. Natasha Ireton-Burke has more.
This last gasp winner from the Imps Sean Raggett secured the progression to the quarter-finals, sending the fans into ecstasy and keeping dreams alive. But who would they face in the next round?
Sutton United or Arsenal, they are due to play on Monday evening, and look who they will meet.
Number 1.
Lincoln City.
And back at Sinsel Bank, Danny and Nikki Cowley, along with hundreds of fans, celebrated finding out who they would face in the next round.
Yeah, it's a great draw, isn't it? I think any draw in the quarter-final of the FA Cup has to be perceived as the perfect draw. You know, for us to still be in the competition, we've just got to be positive, and I don't want any negative thoughts about, you know, who we should have had, or being unlucky that we didn't get them, or being disappointed in any way. I just think absolute positivity is the way to be.
But after the success of the 5th round, it wasn't just the people of Lincoln who were feeling cup fever, as the Imps made headlines around the world, from New Zealand to Times Square, New York. And back at home, there were some impish comments from pundits and celebrities. Anton Deck congratulated Lincoln City, with Gary Lineker noting that Lincoln were making history. Even Paddy Power shared the Imps' excitement, highlighting the magic of the cup. And as chants for Danny Cowley echoed around Sinsel Bank on Sunday, cup fever really has hit Lincoln. Natasha Ireton-Burke, LSJ Today.
Our news correspondent Natasha joins us now. So Natasha, what did this win mean to the club?
Well, Becky, a non-linked team hasn't made it to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup for 103 years. And considering that Lincoln had to replay Guiseley in the 4th qualifying round of the Cup, it's a huge achievement for the Imps.
Financially for the club then, Natasha?
Well, after the 3rd round of the Cup, the Imps won £67,500. The 4th round saw them collect £90,000, and the win in the 5th round saw them receive £180,000. A win in the quarter-finals would see the club gain £360,000. Now, if you include the money from the live games Lincoln City, they've made over £1 million on this FA Cup run. This is a massive contrast to this time 2 years ago, when the club announced a debt of almost £400,000. Supporters of the club were asked to pledge to keep the business afloat, but around 3 weeks ago, with many thanks to this cup run, the club announced that the debt had been paid off in full and the books are not in black. Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Natasha.
Critics have described them as cruel and degrading, but spit hoods could be introduced to Lincolnshire's police force.
Police and Crime Commissioner Mark Jones is calling for the protection after an officer in Louth was spat at while trying to arrest a suspect. Janine Harding reports.
Lincolnshire's Police and Crime Commissioner Mark Jones is backing the use of spit hoods in the county. Spit hoods are used by 17 of the UK's 49 police forces, and since 2011 they've been used at least 2,500 times according to an FOI request. These mesh fabric hoods are placed over the suspect's head to prevent them from spitting and biting police officers and potentially exposing them to serious infections.
Well, the first thing I'd say is whether we have them or not is an operational decision. It's up to the Chief Constable whether they're introduced, but in principle I believe that there is a need for them. I mean, if you can imagine being out there on the streets, you're serving the public and somebody spits in your face. I mean, it's quite a horrific thing in itself. If you then have to go through weeks of tests to make sure that you haven't contracted anything as a result of that, very stressful for you, very stressful for your family, and it largely can be avoided. So it's about personal protective equipment for officers. but it's also about, you know, the health and well-being of the person that's doing the spitting. At the moment, the only way of defending yourself is to force their head down and effectively bend them over, which carries some risks in itself. This is a lot better in my view.
In Lincolnshire, there are well over 200 recorded attacks without physical violence on the county's police force, which includes spitting. Human rights groups such as Amnesty International have criticised the use of spit hoods, saying they're little more than a glorified sack and that there needs to be detailed guidance and training put in place. However, Kit Design, a company that supplies the only medically certified mesh hoods in the market, have defended their decision.
Nobody wants to use a product like this. Nobody enjoys the need for a product like this. But if the product has to be used and police officers have to be safe, then we've tried to make this as a it would never be called a pleasant experience, but it's as safe and as it's not aggressive, and you're not restricting anybody's breathing or their sight, or you're not putting them in danger in any way. So in terms of a situation that is out of hand, this is a solution that nobody would like, nobody wants that solution to be needed, but it is needed, so a police officer does have the right to protect himself.
As of now, there are no plans to formally introduce these spit hoods in Lincolnshire. Janine Harding, LSJ News, Lincoln.
Latest figures revealed by the NHS show that there have been 10 newly reported cases of female genital mutilation recorded in Lincolnshire.
Some viewers may find parts of this package distressing.
Over 30 years ago, Parliament made female genital mutilation illegal in the UK. However, in countries worldwide, this is still happening, and families from the UK are sending their children abroad to have the procedure. In the last 2 years, 10 new cases of female genital mutilation have been recorded in Lincolnshire alone.
My legs were spread apart, and I felt a sharp cut in between my legs. And after that, I screamed so loud.
She came in with the knives and little blades in her hand, and a cloth was put in my mouth so I couldn't scream.
The time they do for me FGM, it was my father's mom, and I was 5 to 6 years. I was very young, and when my mom coming and find out, she was very angry and cried.
FGM is a problem nationally and in Lincolnshire. Several charities are offering help and guidance to those affected and those who could be in danger. A lot of these charities want to see the government take more action against FGM.
Just raising awareness that it is illegal, that it is child abuse, and then it actually has lots and lots of implications for the girls and women that suffer from it.
That was Ali Sultana there from the NSPCC following the report from Lauren Mulcahy. You can watch the full interview on our website at lsj.co.uk.
Still to come, the clean-up campaign to clear rubbish from the city's waterways. They took out 83 bags in a day.
A Lincoln woman is taking part in the Great North Run to raise money for Support Dogs, a charity that helps adults with disabilities. And he was spot on last time with his prediction that Lincoln would beat Burnley. But can Larry the Legless Lizard do it again? Lincoln Big has started a park and ride service this week.
It runs from Waitrose on Netland Road to 3 city centre stops and will operate 6 days a week from Monday until Saturday.
Lincolnshire's YMCA are asking people to sleep rough for the night in Lincoln Cathedral grounds so others don't have to.
Registration for the Sleep Easy event closes this Friday and will take place on the 3rd of March. Its aim is to raise awareness of homelessness and let participants experience what it would be like to sleep on the streets. A campaign has been set up to make the iconic red arrows into the next Lego model.
The toy manufacturer will consider the request if it receives 10,000 signatures. So far, more than 9,200 have signed. A voluntary team that has been cleaning in Lincoln waterways says too much rubbish is still being dumped.
The Gout Group cleared 83 bags of rubbish from Sewell's Walk and have already discussed plans for the next collection. Jess Ward has more.
This messy scene is a display of hard work achieved by a small group of volunteers. Gout's Action Group, which has grown from 5 members to over 20, are concerned about the lack of respect for the Lincoln environment. I went to speak with the team to find out more.
The 2 days we did do the litter picks, we collected 83 large refuse sacks of rubbish, lots of different items, cans, bottles, and then some hardware which we couldn't actually bag, a toilet, hypodermic syringes, the lot. We might start doing other areas, cleaning up other areas. We're certainly talking about it. I just want things to look visually better and people feel better then about the community.
It's not just aesthetic. The more work that Gout's Action Group do to make this a better place, it's for the people here obviously, it's for the environment because more animals are going to come back. I mean, you've got moorhens, ducks, swans, there's some white egrets all on this stretch of water. And they're going to nest here, they're going to breed here hopefully, so the more work we get done the better to make it a better place for them. Last week we were down there and I was hanging off a rope under the bridge and someone threw a can over while I was there. Some people do not care, right? We do, and the more people that we can encourage to care as well, the better this place will look for longer. We're expecting to have to do it again, we will do it again and we'll keep doing it and make sure they see that we are doing it. Hopefully it will rub off on them.
That was Jess Ward with that report. A former Metropolitan Police officer who now lives in Lincoln is doing the Great North Run to raise money for Support Dogs, a charity that trains disability assistance dogs.
Amanda Davidson was injured on duty 20 years ago. She already raised £7,000 and is hoping to increase the amount to £40,000.
I mean, my injuries came from 2 different things. First of all, I got an injury to my shoulder from an armed robbery, and then I got injured during a domestic assault. Now, he's essentially my carer, he's my full-time companion, he goes everywhere with me, and he just gives my family the freedom they need. The main reason I'm doing it is because I'm trying to raise money for Support Dogs, because they're a small charity and they've helped totally changed my life. What Jupiter's meant is that I now go out every day and I walk around and I see people, I talk to people, people come up and talk to me. They don't just see the wheelchair anymore, they see the individual. And that's meant that my life has become a lot more open and a lot more enjoyable. And again, opened my eyes up to other things that I could do. The fact that they've trained a dog to do things that I can't do at times for myself, and they taught Jupiter how to help me with that. They taught him within 5 minutes how to identify my home phone, go and pick it up from anywhere in the house and bring it up to me, because of course I didn't have the phone. Because if we get more people out there talking about it, understanding it, seeing what differences they make, we get to change more disabled people's lives. I mean, if I've raised £40,000, I've covered Jupiter's training for his lifetime. That means someone else can have a dog, and that would be great. So it goes beyond important to me. It drives me, the idea that someone else can have what I've been so lucky to get.
You can help Support Dogs on the charity's website, supportdogs.org.uk. Time for some more on Lincoln City and the sport. Here's Elliot Dalton.
Thanks, Amy. More on Lincoln City's incredible story now, and they will play Premier League Arsenal in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup on the 11th of March. Daniel Kahn is ready and waiting to give us the latest on the Imps.
Thank you, Elliot. Well, what a week it's been for Lincoln City. As you can see behind me, Old Trafford, Manchester United Stadium. After they beat Burnley 1-0 on Saturday, they were looking for a big gun on Monday in the next round, draw, and they got Arsenal away. Not Manchester United behind me, but Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. And it's just been confirmed yesterday that they would get 3 times the away allocation they got against Burnley. So they should have around 9,000 fans packed in to the Emirates Stadium. I got a text from Danny Cowley about that Burnley game, and he said what an unbelievable achievement it was and how proud he was of the players' efforts. But then his last line was, now it's off to North Ferriby, and obviously they won that game 1-0 thanks to a Luke Waterfall header, and now they're 3 points ahead of the second place Dagenham and Redbridge with 2 games in hand. And looking to this weekend, they have another chance to go to Wembley as they face Boreham Wood in the quarterfinals of the FA Trophy. So it's all good if you're a Lincoln City fan, and hopefully they might be going to Wembley twice. Daniel Khan, LSJ Today, Salford.
And like Daniel mentioned there, Cowley's focus was purely on the North Ferriby match that took place on Tuesday night after the Burnley game. And Luke Waterfall's header in the 21st minute kept the Imps at the summit of the National League, 3 points clear of second place Dagenham and Redbridge with 2 games in hand too. On to hockey, and a Lincoln club has been announced as the largest club in England. In terms of participation, Lindham Hockey Club now holds the most participants in the country with almost 1,300 affiliated members. I went to find out more. Lincolnshire isn't really known as one of the country's largest sporting hubs. However, with the recent success of Lincoln City and the news that Lindham Hockey Club here behind me is now, in terms of participation, one of the biggest clubs in England, I've come to walk through the gates and have a look and see just how they've managed that. Lindham is a relatively new club after a merger between Lincoln Roses Hockey Club and Lincoln Hockey Club in 2015. They have in total 1,280 affiliated members, with around 600 of those being playing members. But just what else adds to that number to make it so high?
The Lindham itself have around 600 actual playing members, and then the other sort of 680 come through our community programme. So Hurricane Sports Foundation and Lindham created a partnership to go into the community to run community sessions, so give it a go. We've put on a schools programme which engages roughly 400 after school children a week. And then we run festivals up here, which again just brings a whole community feel to it.
In the UK, hockey has never been a mainstream sport, but its numbers are on the rise, mainly thanks to the success of Team GB in the Rio Olympics, where the women's team won gold in a penalty shootout, one of the highlights of the fortnight for Team GB. And for Lindham Hockey Club, it certainly helped grow their membership.
The greatest impact we've seen over the last 12 months is the GB Olympic success, and having the website there and the means for people to get in touch via Facebook, via Twitter, whether it's had an impact on bringing people in or whether it's simply a platform that's allowed people to come in from that, I don't know, I don't have those stats, but we've definitely seen more interest in the club over the last 12 months.
Lindham hope to keep growing and growing, and it doesn't seem that interest in hockey in Lincoln will start flagging anytime soon. Elliot Dalton, LSJ Today. And that's all your sport for now.
Thanks, Elliot. And there's another cup dream for the city, as a walking football club will compete in the People's FA Cup in Hull this month.
The club that was set up 2 years ago aims to get over 50s exercising and helping prevent social isolation. I went along to find out more.
We're used to seeing high-paced, high-intensity football matches, but here in Lincoln, the over 50s are doing it slightly differently by slowing down the pace while having a lot of fun.
So walking football is a game that's trying to get the over 50s active. So those that have played football in their earlier years and can't quite keep up to the pace, we've slowed it down and sort of catered for all. So it doesn't matter if you've not played before or you've played before, everyone's welcome and everyone can join in.
And now here's Aaron Renfrey with the weather.
So here we are, we're in the middle of Storm Doris, which has definitely hit Lincoln hard. Across the nation, the speeds have gone up to a blistering 93 miles per hour. A tree on Gaunt Street has collapsed, it's already been cut to pieces. Lorries have been overturned, and right here on Riverside Drive, this wall behind me has completely collapsed, completely fallen through, crushing this car behind me. There's a dent in the top of it, it's actually caved in. That's the force that Storm Doris has collided with Lincoln here today. It's absolutely freezing. We've got a bit of rain coming in. The wind's going to stay, I believe, throughout the entire day and throughout the night, and we're going to have heavy showers coming up. Thank you very much.
That's all for today. You can catch up with our news reports throughout the day.
In the meantime, remember to follow us on social media and our website lsjnews.co.uk. That's goodbye from us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.